Hey, it's John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and it's The Entrepreneurial You, the show for dedicated and passionate Caribbean entrepreneurs seeking daily inspiration, brought to you by author, speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur Heneka Watkis-Porter. You must be prepared to ignite.
Coming up on this episode of The Entrepreneurial You.
Nobody cares about how awesome your product is. What they care about is themselves. They care about the problems that they are dealing with or the questions that they are looking for answers to. So as you create content, think about this. It's not about you just promoting your stuff. It's about you providing them with value. How can you answer their questions? How can you show them how to do the things that they're trying to do, overcome the problems and the struggles that they're dealing with, accomplish the goals that they have set? And how can you do it in a way where, when it makes sense to talk about your product and service, you mention it in a way that just flows naturally, because this is how you're providing value to your audience.
Hi, I'm Heneka Watkis-Porter, your inspirational leader and host of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Jamaica Stock Exchange. And now let's go to today's episode. My guest on episode 92 of the Entrepreneurial You podcast is the creator of Become a Blogger and the host of the Blogging with Leslie podcast, where he teaches the craft of professional blogging. Changing the world one blog at a time is the mission he constantly strives towards. As a former university professor, he has a passion for education. He founded and later sold Interactive Biology, a blog dedicated to making biology fun for students and teachers worldwide. As the head of training for the Social Media Marketing Society, he helps to ensure that social media marketers get the training they need to stay on the leading edge of social media. I am super delighted to welcome Leslie Samuel to the Entrepreneurial You podcast. Welcome, Leslie.
Well, thank you for having me. You forgot one part. You were supposed to say the part about the best island in the Caribbean and all that stuff.
Oh, no, because I know that's not Jamaica, right? And we're going to have a live tussle on air, right? Because we know that's Jamaica. But
oh, man, we're going to leave it alone. We're going to leave it alone.
Yeah, we're going to leave it alone. We're going to agree to disagree, right?
Indeed.
Yeah, but I mean, St. Martin for me is my second home. It's a very beautiful island. It's one of the islands. I mean, I've traveled many places around the world, and it's one of those places that I would literally pick up myself and go and live. That's where my mom lives anyway. So
nice.
It's a beautiful island, and so I'll settle for that. I'll work with it.
I have yet to visit Jamaica, and it's a shame. I need to visit Jamaica and see what you guys got going on down there. But I'm really excited to be on the podcast. So thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. And we've got to change this whole Jamaican thing. I mean, we've got to make it work. I just, speaking to you in the background in before we came on, you're telling me about your connection, St. Martin, a mutual connection. Ife Badijo, and Ife is a dynamic woman, a very powerful woman.
She is indeed.
And so it's great connections going on right here. Great Caribbean connection. So I love it. One fun question I have for you. I mean, we've gone in the fun part, right? But I have a fun question for you as it relates to Jamaica. What is one of the things that you've heard about Jamaica, but perhaps in interaction with other Jamaicans is perhaps not true based on, I don't know if there's anything that you've identified?
Ooh, that is a good question. Something that I've heard, but it's not true.
Right. Based on your interaction with Jamaicans. Or perhaps it may be true. Whatever it is. Tell me.
What's interesting is I've been around Jamaicans all my life. So it's not as if like you'll tell me something about Jamaica and then I'll find out later, wait, the people in like this or they are like that or whatever the case might be. I've been around Jamaicans from time I was born. So I love Jamaicans. I can't think of one thing that I've heard that's not true or anything along those lines. Jamaicans are my people, man.
Awesome. So we're one. The all we are one, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. All right. So we're going to be moving in, Leslie. I'm loving our conversation so far. We've not even delved into it yet, right? We're going to be looking at blogging basics for business. Now, you've gone from sharing knowledge in the classroom to sharing it online. And I kind of want to get that backstory of your journey.
Yeah, man. Okay, so this is how it happened. I was teaching in a high school, science and math. And while I was teaching at the high school, I got into blogging just as a way to make some extra money on the side. Eventually, I started a biology blog because I wanted to be a university professor, but I didn't have a PhD. So I figured I'm going to teach what I want to teach if I were a university professor. So I started this biology blog. The blog grew like crazy. Then the blog landed me a job as a university professor. So I was doing the university professor thing and loving it, enjoying it. But I was going so hard with work and my business that I hardly had time for my family. My wife and I had this conversation. Hey, I think it's time for you to quit your job and just try to build this business full time. And we made that decision. So 3 years after getting the job as a university professor, because of my blog, I left that job to do blogging full time. So that's how it kind of evolved over time.
Mm-hmm. And that must have been interesting because the fact that you've wanted to be a professor and you landed that job, and now, I mean, you're giving it up for blogging. So what was that transition like for you? I know it's your heart, right? So based on what I've seen, I've been watching some of your stuff on website and your podcast. Based on what I've seen, it's your passion, it's your heart. So how did that transition go for you?
So interestingly enough, my passion is teaching. And yes, my passion is also biology, but it's more so the teaching. I like to take concepts and make them simple for people to understand. When I see this look in your face, like you didn't understand anything, but now that I've said such and such, you feel like, okay, now I get it. That's like the most rewarding feeling for me. So it interestingly enough, when we were talking about, hey, should I leave my job? Should I leave my business? It was kind of from a perspective of, man, I really don't want to leave my job. But on the other hand, I can't see myself leaving my business because what I was doing online was reaching, tens of thousands of people every month. And the impact that I was able to have because of my blogs, I couldn't see walking away from that. So while I loved what I was doing and I didn't want to leave it, I knew I just couldn't pull myself away from blogging. So the transition was kind of interesting. It was rough, because now you're going from a full-time, salary to now, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do to get by.
Tell me about it.
It was a rough. It was a rough. I remember that we had our first child, our son Noah, and I remember one day my wife came to me and she was like, "Man, we need to buy diapers," and I was like, "Yeah, I know, but I mean." What are we gonna?
Rough. It was
what
rough.
we gonna buy it with? Yeah, so we had to take the cloth and wrap it around and use that as a diaper.
Oh my gosh!
It was a rough transition just in terms of the logistics, but 4 months in, I was able to match my salary as a professor, and then it kind of went from there. So yeah, I look back at it and I am so grateful that I took that risk and made that decision, my wife and I, to leave that job and do what I'm doing today, because the opportunities that have come as a result of it have been amazing.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of opportunities, what are some of those opportunities that you've had as a result of blogging?
Oh man, I speak all over the world. I speak all over the U.S., throughout the Caribbean, Australia. Able to be on podcasts like this and many other podcasts. I've been on TV. I'm on the Discovery Network on a science show as a result of my biology blogs. I've been on the news, and so it's just so many different things. I get to meet people all over the world on a near daily basis, because we live in an age where, technology is connecting us, and you're all the way in Jamaica, I hear in Florida, and it wouldn't matter if I was in Sydney, Australia, we could still talk and do this podcast as we're doing right now. This, to me, this is amazing.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the opportunity, the fact that you get this opportunity to go all over the world, as you said, and speak. And the most important thing is connect with people, right?
Exactly.
Connecting with people, not just from your country or, where you're domiciled now, but all over the world. And I believe that is priceless.
And what's interesting about that is, we spoke about what my passion is, right? It's teaching. Now I get to teach people all over the world. The world is my classroom. I mean, that's a cool classroom. I like it.
Mm-hmm. wherever there's people, then hello. I mean, the question I want to find out, because I know that persons, there are many people. I mean, by now everybody understands what a blog is, right? But perhaps don't even understand so much what it is in detail, and how it functions. How it is that you make money from it, and can you make money from it, things like that. So let's get to the very, very basic, Leslie, and talk to us about what really is a blog.
Yeah, it's a great question because I think a lot of people have misconceptions about what a blog is. What I consider to be a blog is a website. It's a website where you are creating content about a specific topic. Well, it doesn't have to be a specific topic, but I recommend for it to be a specific topic if you want to grow it into a business. So you have this website, which is called a blog, that you're creating content. For me, I am teaching people how to blog, right? So I'm creating content about how to get started with blogging. What is a blog? How do you then grow that blog? How do you turn it into a business? So that is essentially what a blog is. Now, the concept of blogging for business now is different than just blogging. You could start a blog and talk about what you had for dinner. Nobody really cares about that. But blogging for business, this is how I like to summarize the concept. Number one, you have a blog about a specific topic and you are creating content and growing an audience. All right. So let's say my content is about starting a blog and growing that blog and building it into a business. That's the topic of my blog. So once I have an audience that are interested in blogging or interested in biology or whatever the case might be, I can then sell them stuff related to that topic. I can sell them solutions to the problems that they're dealing with. When I started my biology blog and it took off and it started growing well and I had a decent audience, I decided to create a biology study guide. And then because I had an audience, I had people that were interested in biology, and specifically at that time it was human physiology. I sold that study guide for $34.95, and I had a bunch of people all over the world buying that. Now that I teach people how to blog, I have a membership site with all kinds of courses and resources to help them get started and to help them grow that blog. People pay in order to get access to that. So the concept is simple. You have a blog, you create content to attract an audience, and as you grow that audience and you nurture that relationship with that audience, you can then monetize that audience by offering them solutions to their problems, and they will pay you in exchange for that.
Oh, fantastic. We are going to break right here, Leslie. And when we come back from the break, we're going to be looking at the fundamentals of blogging and in terms of, where do we start? When you're thinking about SEO and all those lovely things and, monetizing and things like that. We're going to try and wrap all of that into our final segment when we return. So let's take a break. This review comes from Starlight268 out of the UK, and this person says, I'm really glad I found your show. I've learned a lot from your guests, and I am based in London. It always comes with a slight shock that the show is aimed at entrepreneurs in the Caribbean. I think you have a global audience, and I'm happy to be one of them. I look forward to meeting you one day. Thank you so much, Starlight268. She's based in the UK. Yes, she's actually sent me, I know it's a she. She's actually sent me an email some time ago talking about the podcast. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for this review. And remember, guys, keep the reviews coming. You could possibly hear it read right here live on the Entrepreneurial You podcast.
We needed to raise capital, but our experience with local financial institutions was that they were cautious and slow to act, and interest rates were far too high. We had real concerns about financing our business through outside equity investors and the possibility of interference. Could we get a fair valuation for our business? We had our own ideas about the business and its value. Should I go the traditional route of bank financing, or should I try the Jamaica Stock Exchange? So we made a call and experienced transformation of our business through conversations. I'm John Mahfood, CEO of Jamaican Teas, and we're listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Give us a call today at 876-967-3271 to begin your transformation through conversation. We want to see your company listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Welcome back, and I'm having this awesome, amazing conversation about blogging basics for business with Leslie Samuel. He is a professional blogger. He's a teacher at heart. He loves education. He loves to share knowledge. He loves what blogging has done for him. He's traveled all over the world, meeting some amazing people, going on television, connecting, being in the papers, doing interviews all over. Blogging for Leslie has certainly paid off, and I'm happy to be having this conversation with him. Welcome back, Leslie.
Well, thank you for having me back.
All right. So we want to now look at the fundamentals of blogging. You have said a lot in such a short time, and persons I know listening in, all my peak performers, they're now inspired and they're looking at blogging in a totally different light from perhaps how they've seen it before. Now, for those who are so inspired and inclined to start a blog, where do we start?
That is a great question. Where do you start? You start by defining the audience. Like, who exactly are you trying to attract? When I started my biology blog, I thought about this a whole lot. And what I decided was the people that I wanted to target were upper level university students that were biology majors, and they were taking a physiology class. Now, that's very specific. I could have said, hey, I want to start this biology blog and just do biology. But no, I had to get really specific and say, who am I going to focus on? That is the first step. And a lot of people don't really think about that. They think about, hey, I have this business. It is great for everyone. So I'm just going to start this blog. And who's my audience? Everyone in the world. No. Get specific. There are hundreds of millions of blogs out there. By choosing a specific niche, you're going to be able to cater to that niche better than anyone else can if you do it the right way.
Absolutely. So that's the first thing. So now you've defined your audience, and you want to know a little about how can we grow that audience from perhaps maybe the 5 people that you know in your family on Facebook to to becoming a blogger like you, Leslie.
Yes, indeed. So from there, once you know your audience, you set up your blog and all that good stuff. Now it's time to get people there, right? The first place that's going to start is with your content. And a lot of people overlook this because it sounds so basic, right? But when I started my biology blog, I kind of looked around to see what was missing. And I saw that no one was creating really short videos that were explaining complex topics in simple ways. So I started doing that, and I started creating really good content. And then I had to do a few things to get it out there. So some of the things that I did, especially in the early days, once I had, a few videos and posts out there, I started looking around at the other blogs that are out there. I remember I had a spreadsheet of 86 different blogs and websites. And then I started reaching out to them, offering to help them out, some of them offering to help them out, and also letting them know about my biology blog. And what was interesting, there was one that was high on my list because anytime I search in Google for certain topics, I would see her blog. So I knew she had a lot of traffic. So I reached out to her, offered her some help and so on. And then I told her, hey, by the way, I have this blog over here. You can check it out. I make these videos for physiology, and you could check it out. It was kind of like a by the way mention, right? And next thing you know, she emails me back. She was like, thank you so much. I really do appreciate the offer. I don't even have time to take you up on the offer, but I checked out your blog. It looks pretty cool. So I linked to it. Next thing you know, 400 and something people visit that blog that month. Next thing you know, The next month, 800 and something. And then it kind of went up from there because I was getting exposure because I was featured on this other blog that had traffic. So how can you connect? We spoke earlier about connecting, right? I'm big on connecting. How can you connect with other bloggers in your space? Not from a perspective of, hey, send me traffic, but from a perspective of, hey, how can I help you? And how can this be mutually beneficial? Then there are things like social media. Social media is a great way to start to get your stuff out there. If you decide, hey, my audience is on Facebook, so I'm going to focus on Facebook, go all in and learn as much as you can about how to use Facebook to market your blog and then use it. There's so many different things you can do to drive traffic. You just have to decide where you're going to focus. And you also have to make sure that you are creating great content and put those two together. You'd be surprised at what can happen.
Amazing stuff. So let's talk a little, while we have some time left, talk a little about the technical aspect of it, because someone may be thinking, oh, I'm not a coder. I don't know how to do a website, things like that.
Yeah. So fortunately, the actual setup of the blog is quite simple. I recommend for people to use WordPress.
Hallelujah.
Exactly, right? You get a hosting account with a hosting company, and they make it so easy to install WordPress in like a few clicks, literally. That's not an exaggeration. So a few clicks later, you have WordPress installed, and they all have guides to show you how to do this. Once you have WordPress installed, you start setting up your blog and creating content. Now, a big part of it, you mentioned this term in passing, this SEO thing.
Mm-hmm. I was about to get back there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very important. So for anyone that's listening that's not sure what SEO is, it stands for search engine optimization. And it's just a way of you setting up your blog and your content in a way that Google knows exactly what it is, and they have all the information that they need in order to index your posts in the search engine results. And the more they index your posts and the higher they rank your site, the more traffic you can get. So I highly recommend for anyone, and we can't go into all the details right now, but if you are interested in blogging, you're using WordPress, you want to install the Yoast SEO plugin and learn how to use that, because what that will allow you to do is whenever you create a post, you can go in there and say, this is the keyword that I wanted to rank for when someone goes to Google and search. And then it will then help you to optimize that post for that keyword so that you can give Google the right kind of information. So that is what those are some of the things that I recommend in terms of the technical stuff. I mean, we can talk for like hours on the technical stuff, but that's some of the basics.
Right, absolutely. I'm going to ask for your final thoughts, Leslie, as it relates to blogging for business, perhaps some do's and don'ts.
Oh, some do's and don'ts. Okay, so let's start with the don'ts first. First of all, what I see a lot of people do is, they have a business or whatever the case may be. They hear blogging is good, so they start this blog, and what they do is they just start promoting their products and their services because it's awesome. It's the best thing in the world. You have to have it. You just gotta get it. And here's the problem with that, right? Nobody cares. Nobody cares about how awesome your product is. What they care about is themselves. They care about the problems that they are dealing with or the questions that they are looking for answers to. So as you create content, think about this. It's not about you just promoting your stuff. It's about you providing them with value. How can you answer their questions? How can you show them how to do the things that they're trying to do, overcome the problems and the struggles that they're dealing with, accomplish the goals that they have set? And how can you do it in a way where, when it makes sense to talk about your product and service, you mention it in a way that just flows naturally because this is how you're providing value to your audience. So don't make it all about the promotion. Make it all about providing value. That's the number one don't. Let me give you a do. A lot of people create their blogs and it's kind of just sterile information and they don't put their personalities in it. Now, I love the fact that you have this podcast and you're from Jamaica. I could tell that you're from Jamaica and we talk, we connect and that kind of stuff. Your personality is all up in what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Even when you're creating written content, you want to make sure to put your personality in it, because one thing I do know is that there's nobody on this earth that is exactly like you. So by you putting your personality all up in your content, you are automatically making your content unique.
Ooh, what a fantastic time we've had. We have come to the end of it, however. All good things must, come to an end, or they say continue. So you and I will continue conversations, right? But
definitely.
I'm definitely going to ask you, Leslie, at this point in time, I know you have some giveaway for us, yay, as well as I want my peak performers to be able to connect with you on the various platforms. So I'm going to ask you to share your information, your contact information, as well as go ahead and share what it is that you're giving away for our awesome community right now.
Absolutely. So the best place to connect with me and to get value from me, if you think you listen to this and you're like, man, I really want to learn about blogging, I would highly recommend for you to go to fromidea2blog.com. So from idea, the number 2 or TO, whichever one you want to do, to blog.com. And that's going to take you through my 8 video series on how to get started. And quite frankly, from there, you can connect with me on social media. You can connect with me on my blog at becomeablogger.com. I would love to help you get going and get started with building your blog or growing the one that you already have.
Amazing. Thank you so much. My guest has been Leslie Samuel. He's professional blogger, teacher, traveler, connector, right? Meeting people. That's what he does because he has a blog. He's been doing some amazing things. And I'd want for you, my peak performers, just to continue to check him out because he has some amazing things for you. Thank you so much, Leslie. It has been my amazing pleasure to have you on the Entrepreneurial You podcast.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for listening, those of you that are in the audience. So thanks a lot.
We have come to the end of another great episode of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. Remember to subscribe in Apple Podcast and download all the episodes that you would have missed if you have not already subscribed and downloaded the episodes, and play them to the end as well because good stuff is always at the end too. So do that, as well as go and leave a rate and review right now. I'd appreciate that. It helps a lot because I put a lot of effort into creating this free content, and it does help when I know that it is of significant value to you. So show your love by going to Apple Podcasts and just leave a rate and review. And when you leave that review, do send me an email at heneka.watkis-porter@gmail.com because I'd love to be able to read them in an upcoming episode. And if I'm not notified, I won't know it's there because unless you go into all the different stores in Apple, there is no way that I can actually know that a review was left or a current review was left. So it's important that when you leave your review, you send me an email, let me know about it so I can go look for it and read it live on an episode of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Heneka Watkis-Porter. Remember, you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. Walk good.